Hey, how you doing? Welcome.
Thanks, Mark. It's good to
see
be here.
you.
Yeah, thanks.
And, I have a slight aha moment that hit me a couple days ago that I got to tell you.
Sure.
I was listening to the songs, and I was like, oh, yeah, real clever. Finns with a PH, kind of like Beatles with an A. And then I was walking, all of a sudden, boom, this big light bulb went off. No, all Finns.
You win the big prize.
Good.
Good.
Well, the big dummy prize.
No, it's fine. I mean,
it's a clever pun. I like it very much. So.
I had two when I was trying to name the band. I had two friends who don't know each other independently. Each suggested, and I'm like, well,
that's fate then.
That's pre-market tested, so I better go with it. Yeah,
awesome.
Works.
Awesome. So, are you from the Chicago area?
So I've lived in Chicago and surrounding since early 2001.
Okay.
But I didn't grow up here.
All right. Where'd you grow up?
So I was born in Dayton, Ohio. My family moved around in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. I'd say mostly I lived in southern Indiana, first near Evansville, and then near Indianapolis, in the suburbs of Indianapolis. That's where I graduated high school.
Okay. And go to university in Indiana as well?
I came back for my master's there. Went off to Houston for 4 years.
Wow.
It was good. It was good for me. And then, but came back and got my master's at IU, and a little adventure in Atlanta for a few years after that, before moving to Champaign and then coming up.
Okay. And you play guitar. You have a beautiful Gretsch 12-string.
I do.
And so what was when did you start playing guitar?
I picked up guitar when I was 13. I started on piano young.
Okay.
My mom always had one in the house. She sang and played piano, and my sister sang, so I always wanted to get into that. Took lessons and was always singing too from a young age. And then wanted to do some more things. I went out for band in middle school. Spent about 6 weeks on trumpet before it was mutually agreed by all concerned that perhaps another path. So that's how I won the argument to begin to play guitar. It's like, well, it could be trumpet, guys.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Well, it's like the Paul McCartney story where he started on trumpet,
right?
But then he said, I can't sing with that thing in my mouth. So
true. Oh, I'd forgotten that story.
Yeah,
because his dad was big
jazz cat. Yeah. So you grew up in Indiana, and were you influenced by a lot of the music around in?
So what's interesting about that is, so my late father was a Southern Baptist minister, so I grew up kind of sheltered, right? There was radio, like just car radio stuff. So I was hearing radio hits and all. It wasn't tight, but it was a little tight, and so I didn't really develop a lot of independent taste until I was in high school and kind of spending enough time independently.
Then what would have been some of the records around that you'd be listening to?
So until I could get my own, it was either gospel or country or like my sister's Manilow and Osmond things, right? But around... the first record I bought with my own money was Thriller. The first 45 was When Doves Cry. And then I got Night Rangers, Midnight Madness, good Indiana stuff. Good Heartland kind
Prince
of
is a far way away from the Osmonds.
No, it's not. In a way. But, then the Mormon and Jehovah's Witness things, there's some... It's surprising how it all comes around.
Absolutely.
But... Yeah, so I started going my way then, and then went full Beatles and 60s kind of hard from
British Invasion.
Yeah, kind of went back and immersed myself in that from like ages 12 to 15 or so. Also a lot of U2 and just I would pick up interesting. Rush became a thing. That was the first band I ever saw in a real venue.
Nice.
And so it was eclectic enough. But the thing that set me on the path I'm on now is seeing the video for The Mayor of Simpleton by XTC.
Okay.
That is really what turned around and set me on the path to writing my own things, and that you could use your sense of humor. And, it's an incredibly brainy song about somebody who's telling you he's not very bright.
Right.
It's perfect. It's perfect.
Well, and that's the thing, too. I mean, people don't realize that art can be funny.
Yeah. You have to use it.
Right.
You have to use what you have. If you're not a funny person, then please.
Right. Just create serious art. That's fine. Yeah. Just create.
But it should be authentic to you. Yeah. So you shouldn't stifle any of that. And so I always appreciate that. And it felt very natural. I mean, I was never going to be some posturing macho rock,
right?
Come on,
like lead singer of Night Ranger.
I was never going to be that guy, and so that led me on my way. Elvis Costello and Robin Hitchcock and REM and all the sort of 120 minutes-y things.
Okay, so like a mix of the power pop stuff and the alt rock of the 90s also that was around then.
Yeah. By the time I got to college, then in '91.
Oh yeah,
there was
full swing.
That stuff was all coming right back. Yeah.
And, okay, well, do you remember what the first song was that you wrote?
Ooh. Very first, I started writing when I was 14, 15, and, you're supposed to do your 10,000 hours to get to mastery, right? Still working on it, but the first couple thousand hours or so were study hall in 9th grade.
Okay, it's like busking.
Yeah, pretty much. Would get my homework done so that I could sit there and not be bothered and. So I probably wrote 100 songs in a year. Terrible, but you get them out.
That's how you do it, though.
Exactly.
You got to just. It's not waiting for inspiration. It's putting the work in.
It was so fun. So it was irresistible.
I mean, we've all seen that segment of Get Back that didn't make it into Let It Be. Paul sitting there writing the song Get Back, and then it shows up. It's amazing. I'm so glad we have that. Go this way. It's not going to go that way. Go this.
Yeah. No.
Almost cheering him on.
Yes. It's such a moment.
And that's how you write songs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or get inspired.
Or you get inspired. Sure. So to answer, I think the hit in high school of mine was the man-eating avocado. And if I ever get that pried off of the old cassette that it was recorded on, perhaps it will go on my Bandcamp if I'm brave enough. Yeah, that's the level we're working on in that.
I can suggest there are USB cassette decks out there now, or cassette players. I picked up one recently and have been having a blast pulling off old songs and pulling them. You pull them into Audacity and then you can kind of play with them a little bit.
Yeah, gratefully my 4-track cassette machine that I used in the '90s is still functional.
Oh, wow!
So that should help a lot. It's the time,
right?
It's the time of it, but yeah, it should be. Fingers crossed.
Well, the fun of it for me is I could just hit it and then go about my day, and then I come back and what's the treasures are here today?
It's amazing.
It's a lot of fun. So now you're recording. You've been recording for some time.
Yeah.
Have you always used Nick Bertling as your producer, or
Bertling and I got together after I was on Big Stir for the first year or so.
Okay.
We can come back to it's a lot of story, but Nick heard the album that I made with them and released in 2020, which was called Rebuilding Permit.
Okay.
And like a lot of us, I think even like Chicago Music Guide and Sounds of Chicago, it was partly a COVID situation that led us to necessity being the mother of invention and so forth. So I started live streaming a lot.
Okay.
I worked with a internet radio station called Woody Radio, who's still wonderful and supports me a great deal. They sponsored me on that. And so Nick he heard some of the songs and he watched some of the live streams and he reached out and it was just like, I think I know what you're getting at, but I think I can help you make better records with it.
Okay.
And I listened to some of what he was doing. It's fantastic.
Right.
Got every skill, makes terrific sounding stuff. Outstanding drummer. So absolutely, let's give her.
It's great to meet somebody that understands your art.
Oh yeah, and it was we never had any trouble with shorthand. Like, we knew all of each other's reference points, and so it's fantastic. He's in West Lafayette.
Oh, okay.
So still some distance. We've only done 2-3 sessions in person.
Sure.
Even now, but we've done two albums together.
So, and how did you go about getting signed by Big Stir? Because I know you had a little bit of a catalog before that.
Yeah. So I ever since really those teenage recordings, so that's 87, 88 and onward, I just was doing at home work and writing and recording when I would have a batch and would upload them and get them to CD Baby or whatever things were available to artists at that time. And then along the way, the early internet got us just fan mailing lists and so forth. And one of the people on a Robin Hitchcock related email list was one Rex Broom, who later became one of the two founders of Big Stir Records. Rex is a songwriter and a co-leader of a band called the Armed Wars. Terrific, and has been a friend through a lot of ups and downs, and we began trading songs and like bouncing off each other for many years. And so still, they started the label in 2016, and you don't want to be the guy who kind of gloms onto your friend's thing.
It seems a little disingenuous.
It feels a bit usy
right.
So I waited a bit, but I wrote a song called "It's Okay," which later led off Rebuilding Permit. Big poppy thing, and I thought it fit reasonably well with what the label generally puts out, and so I said, please, do you think we have something that would work?
Yes,
because they had a single series for several years.
Okay.
And there's finally, was the response, which is just lovely.
Fantastic.
So we did that. That went over reasonably well enough that they took the album the following spring. So it's great. They're lovely. They're what you want. In an era where nobody is getting rich,
right?
There's all support and love and intelligence about what works,
right?
And they're a great place to be.
A helping hand, which is nice, because it's so often a lot of the stories that we get here now is just everybody just carrying the banner by themselves, and doing everything themselves, and they're doing production and they're doing this, and it's good to thank goodness somebody's taking 10% of my load off my back, which is fantastic.
All the things, it's the same with Finding Nick. Like, it's all the things that I'm not so great at. You find the people who can really do the things that you can kind of scrape by doing. And that's been a joy. Plus, they're lovely people, and you can never have too many of them.
Okay. And the latest album that you have on Big Stir is Mug.
Mug.
Okay. Where does that title come from?
So Mug.
Other than mugging for the camera.
Well,
also a little
exactly.
bit,
it's an easy. That's in there. The idea, as we were making the record, Nick and I were working on it, and compared to the previous one we had done, which is called "This Is Dolph Chaney," the tracks were really straight ahead more. There was less ambient production. It was just a little bit more focused, a little bit more direct in the writing. And Nick said the title should be very direct and very tangible. It should be like a thing that you buy in a store, like a mug. I'm like, oh, okay, that's magic.
Yeah.
Because it's a verb, it's a noun, it's a crime.
Right. It's so many things.
Yeah, so many things. It's like, well, this is perfect. So Mug it was.
Yeah. So, okay, so I wanted to ask you before we get too far into that.
Yeah.
You said the album, This Is Dolph Chaney.
Yeah.
And there was an album before that called That Was Dolph Chaney. Is this a chicken and egg thing?
So what we did there.
Yeah.
There's 13 songs that feature on both of those records.
Okay.
So This is the first one that I did with Nick, and the idea was all of these songs I did on home recordings all the way back. the oldest one on there is from 1991.
Okay.
And just trying to get better, not only better recordings, but actually arrangements and things that felt natural to me now.
Okay.
And to accept the input of somebody who wasn't there, didn't know me when I wrote them. And so that record came together, and the idea originated with Rex to also compile the original 13 recordings all
nice.
the way back,
right?
As a companion piece. So this was released first, but the recordings on this are, I think the earliest recording is 93, and
it's like your origin story.
Yeah, it's the instant deluxe edition, which is nice too.
Right.
This
cool.
is not available on physical, but it's purchasable as a
download,
as a digital, and it's yeah. Okay. It was a fun idea. The covers play off each other. You get to see my, what is it? That's my sophomore class picture on this so.
You're very brave to put that out there.
Brave is a word.
Yeah.
There are others.
There's an ounce of foolishness in every bravery.
Oh, yeah, and I've got my share.
So, well, one of the songs that jumps out at me, and because everything is guitar-based, but then all of a sudden, the song Bad Bet jumps up.
Yeah.
And it's piano, keyboard-based. Did you start that on guitar and then somebody said, hey, let's mix it up a little bit? Because you said you also played piano, which I did not know.
I do, but that is not me on the album version of Mug, I have to stress.
Okay.
I am not at that level. But
okay, well,
I did.
Who's playing piano then?
So the pianist's name is Brian Sims.
Okay.
He came to us from Nick. Before coming to Lafayette, Nick spent a lot of time in Baltimore.
Okay.
And so Brian's an old contact from those days, and just terrific, the brief on it was, after I'd written it on guitar chords, I realized this kind of is piano-y, so I plunked a demo out, and I was like, I can't do it, but somebody needs to hit it with some Leon Russell.
Right.
So who do we got? And he's like, yeah, I got the guy. And it was fantastic. I swear he turned it around in less than 2 weeks, and he played piano, organ, and bass on that.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Just perfect.
It's fantastic.
Just absolutely perfect.
It's a standout track. And can you tell me a little bit about the lyrics on that one?
Yeah, it's fun, that one, because it's not having confidence in oneself is a theme all over my work, but certainly all over Mug, and the struggles with like winning that battle. And so Bad Bet came from a place of not really feeling like you were a sure thing, not really feeling like somebody could base their hopes on you, right? So I took it with let's see, there's gambling verse. Yeah, like a poker verse, a math verse, and a horse track verse, and just threw every joke I could at it, and that's what made the tune.
Yeah.
I use back to the humor thing. I use the jokes and the puns to trick me into saying something truthful. And that's one of those.
Makes you a little bit of vulnerable as well. These lyrics
Yeah,
too, so.
but without, like, you don't psych yourself out of it if you're laughing through it, and then all of a sudden, here we are.
Another song I love from there is from the album Mug is Mr. Eli, and you pushing that as a single, and I want to post up the Futurama meme because hearing the outro of it is I see what you're doing there.
Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely love it. So is there really a Mr. Eli?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who is he and why does he merit a song?
Oh, well, he's my oldest cat of 3.
Okay.
And he's 10 now. And he's phenomenal. He's the best guy. That's why he gets the song. I have a bit of a history of dog and cat songs, and that one, I don't know. Once I realized, I was sitting around at International Pop Overthrow Festival a couple of years ago, which is actually how I met our next guest. And, it's a power pop festival. It's been at the Montrose Saloon the last few years. It's been in Chicago for over 20 years.
Right.
And you're just immersed with all of these great melodic, traditional, power poppy, sunshine pop kind of songs, just over and over. It's wonderful,
And named after the Material Issue album.
Yeah. And so I was just steeping in it, and so a tune like that started to come to me, and then the phrase Mr. Eli, I realized was a homophone of the phrase mystery lie.
Okay.
I'm like, well, okay. Get out the notepad. And okay, so we can do this with that, and we can do this with that. But I'd love to celebrate. I mean,
sure.
Little guy's terrific.
So. It enters a grand tradition of cat songs like Calico Girlfriend by Mike Nesmith and Lucifer Sam by Pink Floyd, which is a great pop song. It's definitely a standout.
Thank you.
So you got the song about the cat, but it seems also a lot of songs, as you said, are autobiographical, maybe a little self-effacing, which is, but also relatable.
I hope so.
Oh yeah, because one of my complaints about John Lennon's solo years, where he wasn't writing for the everyman. He was just, this is me. This is my, and I was like, well, okay, John, we get it. We know you're in love, but it doesn't, all these songs you did 10 years before that were relatable to all of us, and we love them for that.
Yeah. So. There's a thing about that it's tricky to get right, and there's a principle that if the more specific you go in your references and in your perspective in writing, it actually can be more relatable to more people. Yeah, now they didn't live on the same street that you lived in, but if you reference that street in context in the right way, everybody's got that street in their life,
or the elements of what is on that street. That's
precisely.
Pretty common.
Yeah, and I like that very much. That has helped me as a principal a lot, and so I took it there. And Mug, more than other times, it was one of the things I really wanted to do was, represent me and my emotions and things in my life, but in a way that, I don't know, somebody would be able to grab onto and map to their own equivalent.
Well, the song in question that I was going to reference on that is a song that I love, the groove on and the elements, and the bridge on this one is "Now I Am a Man."
Thank you.
And can you talk about the lyrics of that one and where that came from? And
"Now I Am a Man" I wrote in 2006. So I had just turned 33. So the first lines were, "When Jesus was my age, they nailed him up in rage, but I bet they'd just let me slide." I realized I was not maybe making the impact that I wanted to on people around me. I have high standards, I suppose, if I'm invoking that. But you want to be maybe doing a little bit more with yourself, and didn't feel that I was. But then also I was racking up certain medical adult procedures in a series, and so it's like, well, I have to write what you know. So I've just had my first prostate exam, and it brought a tear to my eye. On you go. So the fun thing about there being a last verse of that, again, that came out on This Is Dolph Chaney, so that was written in 2006. That album came out in 2021. And it didn't have the last verse when I first wrote it. Okay. The last verse, of course, being, "Now I am a man, I just had me a vasectomy," and it brought a tear to my eye. I hadn't had one in 2006, so of course I couldn't write about it. And when it came time, the song was a little short. And Nick said, well, can you get another chorus in there, another verse or something in there? And I'm like, yeah, there's been an update. I can, nice. I can get something in there.
Very, very honest in your songwriting.
It's listen, guys, get your health care if you can. Stay up on that stuff.
So, how does the first line of the song then go along with your upbringing of church upbringing? And
Right.
Was there a little bit of a rub there?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my path has not been the same path that my dad, my mom, and my sister have followed, and that's fine. But it took some doing to get there, and that's part of the thing.
And they're happy with, they're okay with it?
We still talk.
Oh, good.
Everything's cool.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, going back to John Lennon, Christ, it ain't easy.
You got to do the work.
Right, absolutely. So you've got the band The Finns, and you've got gigs coming up.
Yeah.
What albums do you have so much material to draw from? Where do you draw from?
So we're playing most of Mug, 3 to 5 songs, I think, from This Is. A couple of one-off singles that have been here and there, and then a few covers for seasoning.
Well, what would be some songs you covered?
Well, we already talked about XTC, so I'm actually working up Montrose Saloon has given me the keys to run an XTC tribute night in early October, which I'm very excited about. So we've been doing 1 or 2 of those as we're learning them anyway. I've got a Matthew Sweet number that we've done from time to time. A favorite that we've been doing is the Motels song "Only the Lonely."
Wow, nice.
That's a real fun thing to get over, and great songwriting,
Because usually when I pick some covers, I'll try to pick songs that I like. They might be obscure, but also, I didn't write a song in that key. Let me pull that one in, or that rhythmically, just to have the covers change up.
Yeah,
the way everything in different directions, and that Motel song sounds like it fits right into that type of.
It's very. I do a very similar thing, Mark. It's you want it to be just a nice little surprise, not the same thing that maybe everybody else might do. Just to still have it be reflective of yourself, and even though it's not your tune.
Right.
So that one's been fun.
Yeah, one that I pull out all the times is "I Try" by Macy Gray.
Ooh, yeah. Very good song.
Yeah.
That's and fun to bring.
And it usually is a good sing along too. And
you definitely.
Well, Dolph, it was very nice to meet you.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it so much.